Alright, we just went to the gym and now I'm heading home. Got up pretty early to go to the gym. Felt good. I gotta get back into that. But I gotta get back on the road this morning yet. Got a new top for the Jeep. Came in the mail. Well, came by UPS. And yeah, got a new soft top for it. Gonna be throwing that sucker on whenever I can. I wish I could do it today. It's a beautiful day out. But I can't do it today because I got to go on the road. So is what it is. But yes, went to the gym. I feel good. I've been doing strict keto all week, and I gotta tell you, man, I can't believe how much my energy level has gone up after just a week on keto. I'm pretty strict keto, so I'm gonna stick to it. And I went to the gym last night, went to the gym this morning, and we're going to keep doing that every time I come home. And since I'm home every week now, that should be very helpful. A couple times a week is better than none. So there we have it. Except I'm going to get home, take a shower, have some breakfast, and go to the truck and start the week. And of course, it would not be a real Jeep if it didn't have a check engine light on. Yeah, that check engine light is a evap code, and I gotta figure that one out. The Jeep still drives fine. I don't really understand crank windows. You gotta love crank windows. I don't really understand. At first, I had a lean condition code on the on both O2 sensors. You know, this Jeep's a straight 6, so it has one bank, and both O2 sensors were showing lean, and then they started doing that on the way to Utah, but it drove fine. Didn't really think anything of it. Seemed to be okay. And then I went back in to get it checked again just to see if the codes were still the same, and those codes were gone. And now it has 3 evap codes, and it's not the gas cap. I don't believe it. Doesn't look bad. I haven't replaced the gas cap yet, but there's no signs of any wear on the gas cap that would cause it. But it's got a large code, it's got a small code, a small evap, a large evap, and just an evap detected code. So those 3 codes. And an evap code is a bitch to diagnose. An absolute bitch. I mean, you gotta have a smoke machine, to really get into it. And I don't have a smoke machine. And I hear those are pretty damned expensive. So, I don't know. One of these days I might tinker with it, see if I can figure it out. But I will say, and I'm wondering if a lean condition could be responsible for the evap code. Because a vacuum leak could cause a lean condition. And if the lean condition, if the vacuum leak is doing that, could it cause an evap? I mean, I don't know. Or vice versa. Could an evap code cause a lean condition? So I will say this: when it idles, it's a little rough on the idle, but overall everything else is fine. So if it's a little rough on the idle, I'd lean towards a vacuum, but I don't know. We'll just have to see. The vacuum would be a little bit easier to detect, so I don't know. We'll see. And I am, by the way, going to sell my hardtop. So if anybody out there wants it, if anybody that watches these videos has a Jeep interest or has a Jeep that they want a hardtop for, it is a LJ, 2006 LJ, which means it's the longer Wrangler. It's the hardtop will fit on an 04 to an 06. This is the pretty rare gray hardtop. They're not real easy to come by. It's in pretty much perfect condition with a couple of paint chips on the very front above the windshield. Other than that, it's in great shape. So, hey, if anybody wants it, let me know. Yeah, Daddy's Jeep. Going up there? Hey, Caden. Caden. See, can you wave? Yeah, camera. Can you wave? There you go. Say hi. Say hi. Are you driving Daddy's Jeep? It looks left-handed in this picture. Well, right-handed, I should say. The opposite of the American way. You're driving. Good job, buddy. Can I get a high five? Yeah. Yeah. Bye, guys.
I love you.
Yeah.
How much days are you gonna be gone?
I'll be gone about 6 days.
Okay, not one time.
Not really.
Okay.
Love you. Bye, love you. Oh, that's what happens when you leave the house. Bye.
Love you.
Love you.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Love you.
Love you too. And that right there is why I'm happy now to be in a position where I'm home every week. I mean, it sucks to leave regardless, but I get to see them every day, or every week at least. So I couldn't turn it down. This is why I got off the spot market. Well, it's one of the reasons why I got off the spot market, but it was definitely a convincing reason, as well as the stock market, or the spot market rather, is just absolutely crap right now. Step deck, it wasn't bad, but it was still not as good as it could have been. So yeah, anyways, I'm heading to the truck now. I got to see my daughter graduate from her safety class, where they run the big wheels around this, simulated town, and they walk around these sidewalks and learn, to look left and right and all that good stuff. I got to go see that and see her graduate from that class before I got on the road. So that proud dad right here. And man, when she was going in and out of the turns, she actually cut a couple turns short, capitalized on that whole apex thing. Proud dad. I loved it. Anyways, let's get to the truck. I love that hard top, but I cannot wait to get the soft top on. The soft top has a sunroof feature. This whole section right here, from here up, will fold back. And it'll be really nice. I hope you can hear me over this loud diesel. I probably shouldn't have started it yet, but let's get going. Beautiful day today, and I'm going to work. I could be using this day to put my new top on the Jeep, but I'm going to work. I guess I got to make money to pay for that $1,200 top I just bought. Oh well. For all of you left lane bandits out there that want to brag about how your truck isn't governed and you're going 80 miles an hour and yada yada yada, my truck's not governed either, but guess what? I like to care about fuel mileage. I know you're going to say, oh, but I go 85 miles an hour and I get 10.5 miles per gallon with 45,000 pounds in the box, going up and down these big old hills out here west and blah blah blah. I call bullshit. I call absolute bullshit. And if you really are getting that kind of fuel mileage, doing all that stuff, think about how much more fuel mileage you would get if you didn't go 85 miles an hour. Now, I'm just saying, I like saving money out here. That's part of being an owner-operator. Fuel is your largest variable. Hell, it's your largest expense, period. It is your largest expense in a truck, is your fuel. So I don't know why you guys are hot riding it. I see on Facebook people posting pictures of their trucks going 85 plus. You know, it's like, all right, well, I hope you enjoy your crappy fuel mileage and huge fuel bill every time you gotta fill up. I like to manipulate it. In fact, I'll probably go over a video, or I'll do a video sometime about how I manipulate my throttle to get the best fuel mileage I possibly can when I drive this truck with almost grossed out, like 78,000 pounds total. I will go over that sometime. You just, you know, you got to learn how to manipulate it, you know. And, yeah, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. All right, so this is all of my food right here that I'm doing keto in the truck with, and man, I'm telling you guys, after a week, I feel 100 times better than I was before. Before this week anyway, we went on a cruise, and I always feel like crap when I get off a cruise because the food, it's delicious, but it is not good for you. There's exceptions. There's a salad bar, and I do have the salad bar. I like salads, believe it or not. But it's just, you know, there's so many other good choices that are not smart choices, and I usually go for those. And then by the time you get off the cruise after a week of eating that junk, you feel very crappy, very lethargic. It's just a bad feeling. And after a week of being on keto from that, I feel better than I did before the cruise. Way better. Yesterday when I went home, my energy levels were through the roof with the kids, and it feels good. Motivates me to stick with it, you know. Like I said, I went to the gym yesterday, and I went to the gym this morning, and you know, I don't have time so much on the road to stop at the gym, unfortunately, because when I do 3 rounds for the week, it really cuts my time, my 70 close for the week, so I don't have a whole lot of time to mess around. I like it. I'm feeling better than I have in a long time, so I'm convinced that what I'm doing is working. You know, I mean, I'm not expecting to see immediate results, but I can feel better. I mean, I am feeling better, so that's proof positive right there as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, here's the food right here. Yeah, right there. It's got to put it all in my refrigerator, and we'll be good to go. I'll go over all that in a minute. All right, well, hey guys, I am here getting, I'm ready to back into a door to get loaded. Just wanted to give a little update on this truck, my 2015 Freightliner Cascadia Evolution. Now, for those that don't know what the Evolution is for on the Freightliner Cascadia, it's a package that came out in, I think, 2013, maybe 14. I'm pretty sure it came out in 13. But it basically just enlarges the side fairings and makes the airflow a little better around the trailer to improve fuel mileage. And some of them have, you know, like added fuel mileage bonuses, like wheel covers, things like that. Just things to minimize the air. The aerodynamics, to increase the aerodynamics. Wow, that was tough. Anyway, so yeah, it's the Freightliner Cascadia Evolution. I got this truck with 460,000 miles on it back in September. It is now June, and I have got about 500 and let me see here. 548,000 miles. So I put some miles on it. It's been a decent truck. It's been decent. It has, I'm trying to think here. It's given me a couple problems that I've, you know, put some money into, but nothing bad. When I first got it, on my very first trip, the starter went kaplunk. So there was $1,000 right there that I put into it. But from that point on, there wasn't very much going on. You know, and I'm also, you know, these are some kind of pros and cons too about the truck. So, you know, put the starter on. Then after that, a couple months later, I had a small coolant line go bad. Had that replaced right away. And then, let's see, what happened next? You know, basically some services here and there. And then, let's see. I went on vacation one week when I went to Utah. I put it in the shop to get some preventative stuff done. And among those preventative things, I went ahead and had a new fan belt put on, a new tensioner put on, and had an oil leak replaced that was above. There was a bad bad oil pan gasket. Had that replaced, and then a service, and all that together was about $1,600. And then I had my DEF heater line. DEF line 4 go bad. That actually threw a code on my dash. I had that replaced, and at the same time that I had that replaced, I had the coolant reservoir replaced because that sprung a pretty bad leak. So I had to have that replaced. The coolant reservoir and the heater line together ran me around, including labor, around $1,200. And then actually right before those two repairs, the AC compressor went out. Now here's a big con to this truck: the quality of materials, like the dash and stuff like that. It's very cheap plastics. They don't keep the heat out very well when the AC doesn't work. And when the compressor went out, I was going to give it till, you know, I knew it was going in the shop for a service, so I was going to go ahead and let it go until the following week, because it wasn't that hot out. It was only like 60 degrees out, so I didn't really think anything of it. You know, I knew I could leave my window down a little bit and it'd be fine, but that wasn't the case. This big Detroit up here, it got so warm, because these Detroits actually run hotter than, you know, Cummins and things like that. Cruising down the highway, these Detroits usually run around 200 to 205 degrees is roughly what they run at for the water temperature. And most trucks are around 180, so it's not a big difference, but it's a difference. So I figured I'd be okay, but on my drive home from Pennsylvania, or at least back to get my next load back here in Ohio, I had both my windows down, and the dashboard was getting so hot, the floor was getting so hot, because there's horrible insulation, that the dash was almost hot to the touch. Like, there's a little cubby hole. For those that are familiar with Cascadias, there's a cubby hole right beneath your radio, and I put my wallet in there, you know, when I'm driving down the road, and I reached in there to grab my wallet, and I almost burnt my hand because it got so damn hot in there, and, you know, without any cold air running through the vents in the dash, and that heat just radiates off of the dashboard and heats up the cab, something awful. I mean, with the windows down, going 70 miles an hour, it was unbearable in here, and it was 60 degrees outside. So the very next day, I got the AC compressor replaced, and that ran me $1,300 to get the new compressor. So that's what I've had done to this thing. Not really a whole lot, thankfully, knock on wood. No wood in here, but, you know, something. And it, you know, so it's been decent. So we'll see how it goes for a while, you know. But yeah, that's my update to the truck. There's really, you know, other than the poor build quality, well, not even build quality, the poor material quality of things like the dashboard and, you know, the poor insulation on the floor. Other than that, to me, there's not a whole lot of cons. It gets great fuel mileage, you know, especially for a 10-speed. You know, these automatics nowadays are really getting the superior fuel mileage. I'm not going to lie. I like my 10-speed, but the automatics do get good fuel mileage. But I'm able to get decent, going through the hills in Pennsylvania. When you manipulate the throttle just right and you don't use your cruise control, because using your cruise control in a truck, especially going up a hill, it just wants to floor it going up the hill. It just wants to open the throttle 100%, which, you'll see your boost gauge shoot up. That drowns, or that chugs your fuel when that happens. So, I don't use my cruise control when I want to get optimal fuel mileage. That way I can kind of feather the throttle as I'm going up a hill. And then when I get to the top of the hill, if I know there's a downhill, I'll throw it into neutral. And, I'll throw it into neutral going like 10 miles an hour below the speed limit. And then it'll start to speed up going down the hill. And, I'm doing that, pulling, 43,000 pound reefer load. I was able to average about 7.5 miles per gallon running from Ohio to Pennsylvania with that kind of weight. And that's not bad with that kind of weight on those hills on 80 and PA. I can't complain about that. But yeah, so that's an update on the truck. About all there is to it. Nothing to really update that much. But yeah, those are, like I said, those are kind of the pros and cons of this truck. Probably my next truck I buy will probably be a pre-emissions truck. I haven't really had many issues with the emissions on here, but it just worries me. It's one of those things that's always in the back of my mind, even though it has a warranty on it. It's just one of those things. It's a unnecessary stress. If I can buy an 06 or so for cheaper, and I know there's going to be other issues, but the emission systems on these. Now, I will say that in 2015, they majorly improved these the DEF and DPF and everything on these trucks. In fact, they say that 2015 is the year you want to buy for a Cascadia, at least going forward, because they did so well with the emission system. I know there's going to be people, there's going to be anecdotal cases where people say, well, I have a 15 or I have a 16 and my emission system sucks. Okay, well, there's thousands of Freightliner Cascadias on the road, and I understand. Some of them were built on a Monday, so that's going to happen. But 15 is the best year going forward to buy a Cascadia. So anybody out there that wants to buy a Cascadia, because they are decent trucks, they're fairly comfortable. This one has the air ride front suspension, which I'm not sure if that was a factory option or if somebody added it to this truck aftermarket. But it does have an air ride front suspension, which rides better, but it is a little rougher, than a lot of trucks still. But if you want it, one of the biggest pros to a Freightliner in general is the network of maintenance and repairs when it comes to these trucks, because every truck repair store or shop has Freightliner parts, and TAs are Freightliner certified shops. So any TA can do almost anything to a Freightliner. So you can find, so that makes them a lot cheaper to work on, and just easier to find somebody to work on. Trucks like the Volvo and PACCARs, if you have a PACCAR engine like a Peterbilt or a Kenworth with a PACCAR engine, you have to go to the dealer for a lot more stuff, because not every garage on every corner has parts. And for a Volvo, it's next to impossible to go anywhere but the dealer, even for something as small as a goddamn coolant reservoir cap. Trust me, I know. I tried to go to a Petro for a coolant reservoir cap on a Volvo once, and they had every coolant reservoir cap for every make and model, but none for a Volvo. So, just kind of goes to show just how, the networking is much better with parts availability on a Freightliner than any other truck. When I had the coolant line go bad, it was a specialty coolant line only for these trucks. It was a special coolant line that went to the fuel filter housing. It has three ends on this coolant line. So it's not just a run-of-the-mill coolant line. the TA had them in stock. You know, they didn't even have to go to a Freightliner dealer. They had the special coolant line in stock. So again, that's my update to this truck and my pros and cons to this truck. You know, if you look for one with, you know, these Cascadias came with the Detroit and with the Cummins. I highly recommend the Detroit over the Cummins, again, for the parts availability networking. And also, I just feel like the Detroit's a little more reliable, but that's just me. That's like a Ford, Chevy, Dodge thing. But, you know, it came with the Detroit and the Cummins. The Detroit Cascadias do hold their value a little better. When I bought this truck, there were several Cascadias with the Detroit and several Cascadias with the Cummins. The Cummins, they all had similar mileage on them. The Cummins were selling for like $10,000 cheaper than this Detroit and the other Detroits. So, you know, the Detroit's going to hold the value a lot better than the Cummins will. So yeah, I mean, that's just kind of the update and, you know, the pros and cons to this particular make and model of truck. So, like I said, the biggest downfall is just the build quality or the material quality of things like the dash and whatnot. They could have done better insulation to absorb the heat being transmitted from the engine. But as long as the AC's working, you're fine. And $1,300 for a repair on a truck isn't bad. You know, so it is what it is. Take it with a grain of salt. That's my update.